There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, the live show number 391. Dang, 391. Again, thank you so much to everyone that watches us both live. And I know a huge number of you wisely listen to me after the playback around the world. We're in 39 countries and counting. And I do appreciate the feedback and the comments. And I do appreciate the fact that you're beginning to use our communication channel um, called / talkback. And that is a audio way of joining the conversation if you can't make the live show, where you can respond to the topic. I send that out as an email. Please sign up or send me an email, Loren at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. Or sign up when you register with the to watch the show. You can go over and register there, and they'll get added to our list. And I'll send you out our email letting everyone know what the topic is for this week. Which, not to make it over, but drum roll. Today, this week's topic is the right way to use video ads with YouTube. A lot's changed, as we've talked about with the show many times, in the sense of what we use as tools, what we use for modalities of channels. The ever-growing world, we've had very lively discussions as to OTT and CCTV. Obviously, you're watching an example of this if you're watching us on our TV channel, the Hospitality channel that you can get on your Roku TV, your Samsung TV, smart TVs in general, Amazon TV, Kindles, Fires, and all that kind of stuff, as well as Google TV and Apple TV. You can just look for us, and also as an app on your any of your iOS or Android application tools, phones, and so forth. Look for the Hospitality Channel app, and our live show. This one is broadcast free on the TV channel, which is kind of fun to say. Obviously, we don't do many hand puppets and so forth, but it is fun as we do that you can see the Talking Heads dialogue. And I've been asked a few times, actually, just recently was asked again. It's like, why not do it where you have a whiteboard or some example that you can talk about? And there's been many topics that we've had that probably adding that into it would have been a visual and enhancement to the TV channel showing discussion of it, or the rebroadcasting that we do on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. Okay. But I didn't want it to be webinar-esque in that sense. I wanted it to be very much like a live interview TV show when we have guest hosts, live discussion, if it's just me, as it is now, opportunity. And I should apologize for the dangling wires. And recovery has many forms here in Southwest Florida. And we've just finished getting the rest of our molded drywall ripped out. And as such, the office is in piles of things rather than in an organized, at least semi-chaotic perspective in the background. I'm not a big fan of fake backgrounds unless critically necessary. Like if you're in an area that people will be behind you and they're a distraction, then putting a fake background or a blur would be nice. I'm in my office for all that it may be. And I don't like to have the blurry fake edge kind of thing. Which goes to what we're talking about with whiteboards, really. They're helpful. We do them on our Hospitality Marketing Club in our discussions. We have screen sharing and whiteboarding sharing that we do and discuss with. We use it as examples and commonalities and so forth. It's fun because it's a dialogue between a smaller audience. Here, since we're broadcasting literally on TV and simulcasting on all the social media platforms, including Twitch, by the way, for those who use gaming consoles for the media. This is what I like, is the sense that if you're watching me talk to you with all the very dramatic hand gestures that I have. If you're listening to me, you miss the hand gestures at least, but the context is still the same. And the content hopefully still is just as valuable. So for that in mind, thank you for doing that. Meanwhile, going back to our topic of how to use YouTube video properly for advertising. I'm not trying to push the envelope and saying this is a leading edge concept. It's not. YouTube advertisement has been around for as long as YouTube's been around, really. It's really changed dynamics as to the volume of advertisement that we are exposed to on YouTube. Initially, advertisement on YouTube was based on the viewership of a video. If it hit certain thresholds, then advertisement was placed in. Usually, it was done in collaboration with the producer of the video for a monetization. That was an option choice that they could have. You had to have the viewership to get the monetization sharing with it. That's still the case. Just because ads are placed on our YouTube videos doesn't mean we get a check from YouTube. It means that they are, according to the terms of agreement, using our content to market people that are watching it. When you get to a certain level of viewership, then you can have the leverage dialogue with them of saying, "Hey, I'm getting 100,000 plus viewers or 50,000 plus viewers, and I want a rev share off of my the advertisements that are running on my videos." And that's when you can have that dialogue. Up to that point, Google's like, "Hey, you're using our platform to store your videos and distribute them and for people to see them, which means you're sharing the content that we get to use for ways that we need, which is advertising. So thank you for the content." Um, but what has happened since all of this progression is now literally any video, every video that you watch has some um, skippable or B drop or end roll or forced watch variation of ads that mandate that you have to see what they're doing, or at least being put on the videos, regardless of how silly it is of a cat banging on a piano. There's ads on it now, and they're tailored to the viewer of it, obviously, as to what ads are being seen. That targeting of ability is scary good, to be honest with you, as in any of the Google targeting is scary good. Um, and so now there's more opportunity for Google to monetize the content that we have been giving them YouTube. I am surprised, given that we use resources for like the club that are private. It's on our storage. It's encrypted and locked. So our dialogues, our videos, our webinars, our inclusive content is literally can only see it if you have access granted to you. And some people say, well, on YouTube you can just do it as unlisted. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The idea is that somebody would have to find it, have the link to see it. Sometimes there's subversive ways of finding out what that is because it's not private. Unlisted doesn't mean only the person that created it. That stays in draft. If you leave it in draft, unpublished, okay, then only the producer of it sees it. It also means he can't or she can't share that link with anyone because only their account can see the content so far. That's what draft is. Uh, if you make it unlisted, okay, then you have to have the link supposedly to go oversee, which is true. But that derivative, it's easy for people, hackers, what they do with passwords. They begin to randomize your extension of your channel, your YouTube channel, and randomize videos that are on it. Also, too, um, the idea that it can be on your channel and not public means that if somebody has access to your channel, they can see it. So what I'm saying is that it's still YouTube content. It's still on their platform. They're paying for the servers to hold the data. They're paying for the ability for people to see it, for it to be on the internet, for them people to go over and view it and so forth. So they still have quote unquote assignable rights to the usage of that content. And I'm so surprised that so many large companies still use YouTube as their source for what I would consider confidential or proprietary information. And they simply hide behind that, well, it's an unlisted link, so nobody should have it. Obviously, it's very expensive from a bandwidth perspective to put because you're paying for your hosting service to handle the demand to what they're hosting for your website. And if you're hosting the videos on your website, as people watch the viewership, that data transfer for them to view it cumulatively to everybody that views it starts turning into a bill that they send you. You reach certain thresholds and like, well, for next, terabyte of storage or gigabytes X of storage, you have to pay for it. So people don't choose to put it on their website. There are other platforms like Vimeo. And so for the same rationale, Vimeo is trying to compete obviously with YouTube in different ways, better quality video with stereo, so forth. And there's other paid platforms that good organizations use to say the data is theirs. However, you're still using it on a platform service program, so you have to pay for the privilege of it not being distributed outside of whom you want it to be distributed for. The other alternative is, like I mentioned, that you buy a service of a company that allows you storage space that is yours, encrypted and locked, and that's really good for the training sessions we do, the educational stuff, the things that are ours that we don't want to be discoverable or hackable for people to be able to rip off and control. Plus, also too, it gives you some more security features of not being able to get screen grabs of it, not being able to record it, where it prevents those things that when those programs are being seen as being active in the background to the rendering of the video, that it doesn't render the video or the audio. And there's services that do that we use to make sure that if somebody joined our club and nefariously went over and wanted to share what we gave them access to, it wouldn't work. And the only way it would work is if they actually gave that person credentials, and we even have safeguards for that. That it has to be off of a certain MAC address and stuff. So yes, there's ways to prevent people to get access to data, but that's not what we're bringing about YouTube advertising. Advertising is just the antithesis of this. It's getting your ads to the right people on video. Strangely enough, and this was something of a discovery process for us, is I went over and let's describe a scenario for hospitality. We've beaten the drum for so much about timelines, storyboards, and the inception of conversations and content as it relates to a future point of reference, like event-driven advertising. Let's just take that as an example. Event-driven marketing. We have a really big festival coming into our market that we are in proximity to. We're a preferential place to stay during this event, and we want to maximize our exposure of affinity with this event. Okay. In the world of what we talked about with marketing, we talked about the engagement of social organic first, creating content that is relevant and helpful about people demographically interested. We talked about storylines based on topics of soft adventure, culinary, off the beaten path, cultural, family getaways, and so forth. And in one of those storylines, okay, this would land. This event falls within, say, for instance, local info, okay, off the beaten path. And so you want people to be aware of this. So you know that it's a drive market and what have you, so forth and so on. And you begin to share content with it. In addition to doing that at the same time concurrently, you want to ensure on your website that you should have control. And I believe that brands don't have this option, but if you do have this option, you develop content related to this event specifically on your website. So you have a reference to what you're posting on social as helpful information with a call to action that brings them to a more robust amount of content. Again, not a hard solicitation, not a buy, sell, not a click here to reserve kind of thing. A helpful awareness. The 5 things you should be prepared for when you come to the XYZ festival. The hidden treasure restaurant that is XYZ distant from the festival, so forth and so on. You begin to share that data. You begin to share it in pathways of hashtags and groups and dialogue that are related to the festival. As the festival identifies itself to its own audience, you associate with it. You share things that are being shared by them in case the people are unaware that it is a place that they have as a resource. You begin that social engagement to validate your value worth of information. And also on your website, you're doing the same thing. That's the early stages of it. As you progress and begin to get to the point where you're getting into the window of opportunity for conversion, you begin to do your paid social, obviously, to amp up your exposure of what you've been sharing all along. And people go to your place or your page and they see that you've been talking a lot about this content or sharing more content than what they knew about by when they first got there, which only increases the validation and authority that you represent. And then they go over and from that paid social media, they begin to see your paid campaigns. One, by retargeting Facebook page, retarget them, create a custom audience of those people coming for those posts, and then using retargeting of beginning to let them know about your website. If they didn't discover it on your Facebook page, aware of the fact that you have more content on your website. And then you change the content perspective of your website to begin to show what you are offering in relationship to that event. Like, hey, but after we've shared all this information, 5 things to do, this place don't miss, make sure you eat lunch here, breakfast is a great place here. By the way, here's our reservation. We have a special rate or offer. This is our ability to book if you want to come stay through the weekend or whatever the dates are. You have that in there. You insert that in there. So now you're beginning to give them, more of a call to action communication. And then as you get closer to the event itself and the booking window for the event, you begin to get more aggressive with your advertising, where you're targeting all your feeder markets, drive markets, the people that they historically come from, or where the traffic by data has been coming from. You target that in your campaign strategy because you've had now a history of engagement on social and a history of engagement on your organic content of the website. You have analytic data to say, wow, there's a lot of people from the ABC area that is interested in this event. So let's geo-target that, okay, and give them more call to action advertisement. Also, because there's data available as GA4 gets more and more usable, that you can say, well, who are these people demographically? What time of day do they look at us? Let's make sure we're showing up at the times that they've been looking for us. Let's make sure we're showing up for the people types that we're looking for us, in addition to the geography. And you're doing this whole paid campaign thing. That's great. And then you begin to accelerate that to the point where you're really trying to make sure people get in before there's no more rooms left or whatever it is the restriction might be, to really maximize the demand for the event. That's a typical marketing strategy timeline in general. There's a lot of missing pieces for detail, but just for example's sake, that's a generalized marketing effort. In a beautiful world, everything all the time. That's just one of a series of several different variations of marketing that you're doing for a variety of things, from holidays to events to time of year to demographics to marketing to your groups, your corporate interests, your L&Rs, local negotiated rates, all that stuff. It's part of a huge jigsaw puzzle of multiple efforts. That's awesome. 99.99999% of the time, things fall between the cracks. Changes happen. I'll give you a perfect example. You had a group block X number of weeks out through a tragedy or whatever. Whatever the justification of it, they had to cancel. Now you have a gap in your demand. And when I used to speak for HSMI at their conferences for the Rocket program, ROCET, which is Revenue Optimization, Convergence, Education, and Training, we went to 33 cities. Of all 33 cities, only one city actually said something different than what I'm about to tell you now. I challenged them with a real scenario that I had when I was having to handle multiple hotels for an organization I was working for. I had exactly this scenario. I had a group that backed up due to tragedy, sad tragedy, 2 weeks away. And of course, we had a cancellation terms and so forth, attrition, everything else. They've been a repetitive annual event. Okay, so this wasn't the first year doing it with us, and we could have called them on the cancellation clauses, and got that money. Likelihood is they would have then opened up the idea that they may not want to come back the following year when they normally would have. But being good stewards of the relationship, we decided that was in poor taste to push that. We expressed our condolences to why they had to cancel it. Looked forward to the fact that they would come back the next year, which they did, and gave us more business because of the way we handled the program and so forth. But here we had this huge hole, and about 60% of our occupancy vapored. Poof. Here we are patting ourselves on the back that we're going to have a sold out weekend, and now we're 60% in the hole. So I posed this to the groups as I talked to them across the country, actually across multiple countries. This wasn't just the US. What would you do? Revenue managers, marketers, what would you do? And the 99.9999% of the answers were, not much you can do. Drop your pants and take the lower rate. Dump the rate, okay? Hoping to solicit any residual demand to market because of the compression that was previously there. Knowing that you're also going to put money back on the table for people that now who have paid the higher rate will see that you're offering a lower rate and rebook under that lower rate. So you're losing money on the table. The hopes of it is, though, that somehow you would fill that void in with as much as possible on the residual demand to market. Of course, creating resentment for your entire comp set because you went and bargain basement your prices, which of course drove their demands down and or their yield abilities because they're maintaining their rate structure and so forth, on and on. But that was usually the answer that was given for that type of scenario. Lower your rate and bear it. Only one city actually went over, and it was Las Vegas, just so you know, that went over and said, well, they might look at other channels. And they at least had the thought to say, well, I would dump a bunch of inventory into OTAs, see if I can sell through third party, which of course is what most of them do anyway. So it really wasn't a revelation decision. It was just nobody actually said that, strangely enough, except for them. And still, same scenario. You're going to be dump rate. One thing is not opaquely, but opaque would be a part of the strategy too. But hopefully those people that have already booked would not have seen the lower rate on a third-party channel because they're not looking for it at that point. They would see it on your website because people do affirmational checking before they arrive, but they maybe didn't see it on the third party. So you wouldn't get as much bleed over money on the table, which never really happened. But anyway, I offered an alternative. What I did was say, hey, let's look at a different way of looking at it. So I said in our CRM system, I says, let's look at everybody that is in 150-mile radius of us that exists. Just who's in 150-mile radius. We have it in our PMS system based on zip code. Okay. Made a list of that. Boom. Okay. Then I went over and said, who stayed with us same time last year? Boom. Made a list of that. And who's on the books now for that weekend? Made a list of that. Boom. What I did was I made a custom audience and I included all three of those audiences. Now, if you're paying attention to what I just said is three audiences, you'll say, well, why did you take the audience of everybody that was already on the books? Because I made that a negative audience. What I was about to send out in advertisement, okay, was something I didn't want them to see. I didn't want to see that I was offering a lower rate. I wanted to show everybody but them that I was offering a lower rate in the hopes that I wouldn't have to put too much money back on the table. And then I created a campaign around that and pushed that out as an ad campaign to solicit people to stay with us. Uh, that targeting created our ability, which is why I refer to it in conferences all the time. We sold out again because it was timely. Now, why did we do the 150-mile radius people? Was because it was across the other side of the country couldn't take advantage of the fact that this event was 2 weeks away. I mean, I love that they would want to be with us so badly that they would jump on a plane and fly down in less than 2 weeks. But likelihood you're already past the flight window for rates and so forth. It's unlikely. The most likeliness is that drive market, 150 miles and radius, would be the most likely candidate to come. That's cool. 2 weeks from now, I can go make it in. That'd be great. For whatever reason was the demand for the market for that weekend. So that's why we picked them. And the year that stay with the same time is maybe they have a valid recurring reason, and we just didn't capture them on the recurrence, but we're now offering them a rate that might make them recur coming back to us. That's why we did those choices. I have another choice for you, and that is YouTube video. You're wondering when I was going to get back to the topic, right? YouTube video is amazingly instantaneous. Given the same scenario, minus the solution I've already given to you, says, guys, this is what happened. We got to fill a hole 2 weeks from now. There is not, when the marketer turns around and looks at his toolkit, a whole mess of stuff that they can do that's going to impact a 2-week pickup. It's like a big ship, okay? It just doesn't turn on a dime. You spin the wheel, and it takes the time to make the changes. To that whole timeline I told you about, a normal progressive marketing one, is over the span of weeks, and really dependent upon when they first engage with the topic, event topic, and so forth. It could be months, okay? 2 weeks out, there's very few tools in a digital marketer's kit that has that ability. Now, if you have an active audience engagement on social media platforms, and platforms that require instantaneous engagement on a regular, consistent basis, and you're good at it, and you have a following because you have a personality on it and you have a voice on it. I'm thinking places like Instagram, like TikTok, things like this. Then you can go to in Twitter. You can go to the instantaneous, bang, boom, here it is, buy book, amazing deal. This is a choice that this wasn't available before. We're making it available now. You're missing out if you don't get it now, kind of stuff. The buy now stuff. Fortunately, not a lot of hotels are in that space well to do that. They're in the more progressively longer timelined social platforms like Facebook, like Pinterest, that are a buildup of dialogue, a buildup of storylines, a buildup of engagement, and regrettably, solely valuable on its amplification from paid campaigns. Now, of course, you're willing to make paid social campaigns, and I would not turn my back to Facebook in this scenario, saying, light it up, let people know. Here's the thing, though. The very same people you're trying to get to book for what you need in 2 weeks are the very same people that might have already booked. You don't have that destination of not exposing people to rebook at a lower rate. You can take what I did as an example and take people that are in the books and make a negative audience in Facebook to make sure that the post ads that you're creating don't get seen by them. So I would recommend that. I would recommend that if you do have any audience engagement with Twitter, that you are on that platform and are being consistent about its usability, that you definitely exercise those options. But here is the option that I'm finally getting to about YouTube. It's a light me up the next day. If I want to go over and have done this, where this scenario has happened, we have a 2-week hole out. I've had it as short as 5 days out. Okay. I make a quick video ad about whatever it is I want to do. And I target it, but like I told you with Google, in ways that I know are applicable to the offer, usually drive market. Usually there's some demographic peppering in there as to what I think will be the resonant personas of people that would appreciate the offer that's being done. Of course, if it's event related, that would be a keynote of how I phrase the video and use them and create the video. And I would launch it ASAP. The minute you put the video ads up, they are immediately running. I'm not saying that ads don't immediately run as well, but it's in a different timeline of interest. someone that is interested or potentially interested in a 5-day out or a 2-week out, 14-day out event are not searching they would be 6 weeks earlier from the event itself. Remember recovery education, the awareness, and the selection decisions and acquisitions. They're already into that point. They may have already had their bookings. They may have already defined what they're going to be doing. They're looking for reinforcement of their purchase decisions, and they're looking for alternatives to the purchase decisions based on the proximity of the event itself. So all of the phrasing of what you do has to be related to even if you booked, this deal is better than probably what you have. If you haven't booked, this is a deal that you didn't have now before that you have now. You better take it while it's still available. That ability to convey that tone of stuff is hard to do in 25 character headlines and 2-line descriptions. In a video, the visualization capability of portraying so much subliminally in addition to what you're putting into the ad itself is a whole mess more data that can make all those implications to them and reinforce the value of what's being offered and reinforce the value of why they'd be interested because of the event that they might be drawn to for that whole. Because of that, YouTube videos are great. Now, here's where everything hits a proverbial brick wall. Content. I can get anybody's, like I can get any of my clients, like they're at a church during Sunday. They are, yay, let's go out. And yes, and then all of a sudden they come out of the church and go, well, how are we going to do that? Content is the big block for a lot of places. It had been. And if you think traditionally, you think about rich media in the context that hotels have always thought of rich media. And that is, oh, we're doing a photo shoot today. Yay. Talk about messing up the hotel operation because we're going to have to block off areas. Our guests are going to get irritated because they can't go into the restaurant because we got to picture perfect. There's actors that are coming in. They're going to act like happy families having breakfast in the morning. And we got to do 15 plates of food perfectly looking with proper lighting that takes forever today to get the perfect food picture. And we got to clear out the pool so guests can't be in it. We got to make sure it's pristine. We got to pressure wash it down so it's all glistening. It's a pain in the butt. That's what people think about rich media for hospitality for hotels. The lobby has to be empty. The flowers have to be in the vase, that kind of stuff. Smiley, happy, attractive people, even if they don't work for you or behind the counter going, oh, I'm an actor. Those pictures are valuable for certain things, but not everything. And they're pictures. And any video are you much worse than the ability for them to be produced and the timeline it takes to do it and the storyboards and the collaboration and the downtime of the hotel and the resort. It's arduous. And if you're a brand hotel, you know that even more so because they only have certain vendors that do it. And those vendors, they know that they're the only ones you can use. So they don't prioritize nothing. They're like, I'm there when I'm there. You do what I tell you. And then you do it as long as I want you to do it. And I don't care the inconvenience that it creates for it. Very few vendors that do this for brands have an attitude different than that. I'm sorry, guys. I dealt with doing too many of you for every brand. And it seems to be a kind of a cocky, like, hey, I know I'm it. I'm the bomb. I'm the one that's the approved vendor. You got no choice. You got no option. And you're going to fit my schedule, my timeline, and my needs. And that's the way it is. And it's that way. But none of the content we're talking about has to do with that. The content we're talking about is a little grittier. Matter of fact, it's preferably grittier. It isn't about super stylized HDR photography. It isn't about super stylized like choreographed storyline videos. It's about putting together roughly 15, no more than 30-second video messaging that you have the rights to. Key element to this entire conversation. You have the copyrighted authorization to use the content you're using. The best way for that to be the case is you to create it yourself. And you're like, what? Okay, no, I don't know how to take videos. I don't take photography, whatever. The magic of what's in our hands is amazing. I can't show you from the camera, but mountains of camera gear. I have old video cameras that are huge that work on booms and everything else. And they don't even take as good video as this thing does in my hand. All the lens work. Now, granted, they have the coin phrase of better cameras is the amount of glass they have, optics, the ability to draw more light, the ability to do this. These things tend to do for digital processing capabilities to augment it to be as good as that. But the sheer stabilization and quality of that you can do with your phone, the light aperture automation that the phones do is stunning. Comparison to just even a few years ago, compared to even to last year, the videography capabilities of your phones have progressively improved over the time. The thing I would say about this, even when you produce it yourself, any videos, any photos, is that you get the write-off permission of anybody that can be identified in the videos or the photos to allow their basic personage to be used for commercial purposes. You need a record of that. There's a downloadable form you can get online that just simply says, I state your name, authorize company of to use my likeness for commercial purposes. Da, da, da. That way, if they ever come back, if a happy employee now might be a disgruntled employee in the future. I'm in your promotional video. I didn't give you permission. You just took it because I was working for you. Now I want to sue you for the whatever. You get to say, hey, you signed this piece of paper that says we could use you. Thank you. Always make sure you have the rights to anybody that's in the video and so forth. And if you're to use content that you didn't create, make sure that you buy the commercial license, not private license, not rip it. Don't rip it from somebody without permission. Don't say, oh, well, they put it up there publicly. It's on their Instagram. Or it says I can take it. They did a beautiful picture of our hotel. I'm just going to take that and use it in my ad. They put it up because they had the personal right to share it as you to use it for commercial purposes. Okay. Even posting it on your organic social platforms of look what Loren posted without asking Loren if it's okay to post. Okay. Is like, I can go back and say, dudes, I posted it on my social platform about my stay with you of what I saw. I didn't give you permission to share it on your platforms. That's a real thing. Okay. If you see something that somebody posts, reach out to them and say, oh, that is an amazing picture. Is it okay? Can you tell me it's okay that we take your post and share it on ours? Ask. Because then if they regret it and say, wait a minute, I didn't tell you to do it. Yeah, actually, we sent out an ask and you said it was fine. We'll take it down if you don't want to, whatever. If they post it on your page, then they've given you the express rights to say that I posted it on your page of what I had. Yes, you can use that for that. Doesn't mean you can rip it and use it into a commercial. It's still not commercial access. If you use anything in your creatives, it has to be with expressed commercial purposes. I can't emphasize that enough. Nobody wants to tell their ownership we're being pursued legally for copyright infringement, trademark infringement, rights of usage, because it's expensive. Even in its cheapest day, it's thousands of dollars. And in its expensive day, it's like a lot worse than that even. So make sure you do this. Mantra, golden rule, whatever you want to do, that is burned in, that anything you do has to have the permissions to use it. That admonishment being the case, welcome to the world of content availability. Oh my gosh. There is so much content that you can purchase, acquire, use for just about anything that you need, that it's just purchase and play for a platform, use it on the platform. You have that ability to say, hey, I love this video piece, and if I pay this much money, I can use it. Great. The other thing that's happened recently, which is really powerful, is the AI usage. And I say AI in a loose term because I still have a high standard for what I consider to be AI. AI is a self-learning functionality. It goes beyond machine learning, algorithmic understanding and usages. It's more about the machine program learning things vicariously as a usage of understanding the data that it's accumulating. So I say AI loosely. There are platforms that we talk about on the podcast, by the way. In last week's podcast, we had 3 tools in particular we talked about that were about generating our AI created rich media. One of them was Steve AI. To give you a sense, and this is an example of a platform, not endorsing Steve AI, although I use it. And in the podcast, I talk about how to use it and so forth as well. Is in there, you basically write scene by scene what you want said. Okay. I want to say this. I want to say this. And you usually about no more than 6 scenes, probably around 4 scenes. So really only 4 text statements of stuff. Okay. You put in there. And then you say, go fetch. And it says, well, what is this for? So well, it's a hospitality ad. And it's, I want it 16 by 9 or I want it square. And this depends on the device you want it to be displayed on. Okay. I want it to be this size so that it would render on a phone versus a TV versus, not that the square won't render black bars on the side, except for it'll expand up to the TV size, which sometimes distorts the view a little bit. You know, you've seen those. And then from that, it will go over and uh, generate based on a theme you pick. The title, the text bars to come in on the lower side, or be a solid background behind it, or I just want it to be transparent background, whatever. You'll see the variations in the themes that they offer. You pick that, and then it'll chug around, chug around, chug around, and lo and behold, boom, it's made a video for you. You can adjust the length of the different scenes time wise, because sometimes it generates a 37 or 44-second video and you're like, it's a little long, I don't want that. So you go into individual scenes and decide how to shrink them down so that it fits within 30 or 20, whatever you're doing. It gives you the option that the final scene, you put in your logo and any contact information that you want to make sure in there, like short codes or QR codes, which, remember which platform you're running it on as to whether you put a QR code on it. We're getting back to the YouTube thing, long circle to get there. And then your Facebook or whatever, what it means that you have for your closing statement or whatever. And then it's done. And then it downloads it as an MP4, and wow, Shazam. Then you load it up into YouTube under your company's page, and then you go into Google Analytics, or the Google Analytics, Google Ads. And first time I've never said AdWords naturally and have to correct myself. Google Ads, and put it in as a video campaign, and then parameters that you're looking for it to play on. Now, this is where we get into the whole purpose of today's call. So what? It took us 40 minutes to get to where I wanted to be at the beginning. And that is, how do you do this right? Well, there's lots of tools that help you to make sure you do it right. Again, this podcast today, we're going to actually talk about tools that define hashtagging, that define who you're competing with for what you're messaging, to know how they're doing it, to know how to replicate their success and exploit their disadvantages. There's tools that will actually say, this is the best performing video for what you're trying to do. These are what they did to do it. There's tools that do that. Things like BitPlay, Azula. I was trying to think of the other one. The other tool we're talking about today, TuberJunket, which phonetically is sounding worse than it actually spelled. But anyways, these are tools that help you identify how to make sure you optimize the exposure of your videos for the organic value they represent, and contextually how they need to be for your ad campaigns. Now, your ad campaigns run on the success of your targeting and your filtering. And for that reason, the part that I think it's mostly ignored in YouTube video ad creation is the variety of formatting your video. And follow me on this one, that there is your mobile rendition phone, which is a large portion of the traffic, largest potential in some circumstances, not always, and I'll tell you why. Then you have tablets, and they're not gone. They get used a lot for this type of engagement. People tend to watch videos and visual things on a tablet simply for screen size. Computers, desktop, laptops, obviously. You're watching me if you are, if not on TV. And then TV, which is a wonderful 16:9 world. 16:9 is the ratio. 16:9 is the ratio. So here's what we found on proper YouTube distribution. Depending upon the message, depending upon the targeting, makes the dependency on what device will be most likely used in the engagement of your ad. If you make a wrong size ad and it tries to render, or Google tries to render it on a medium that it isn't truly fit for, there's cutoffs. All of a sudden, the messaging isn't fully across the screen, or if it is, it's too small to read, vice versa, okay? The linkage, in the sense of identifying what you want them to do on a mobile, you're looking at going, I'm not going to remember that to type it in. Why can't I have a call to action, which you would on an ad for it? Things that if on an ad mobile, the call to action bar is below the image. On other platforms, it runs over the bottom lower third of the image, which if you have your text in the wrong place, gets covered by the call to action that Google puts in. Okay. Your logo should be on the call to action. Not a lot of people do that, so it gets to be a wasted space. You can put a tagline on the call to action because you have control over the visual of it that people don't take advantage of. There's lots of little things about those that make the difference. Here's the fun, fascinating thing I found about videos. Outside of the targeting, outside of the devicing, TV viewership of YouTube is huge. And what do I mean by that? Well, I have YouTube TV, and that's what I do to watch TV. and it's a great platform. Not trying to here to endorse Googleism, but it's a great platform. I get to watch local TV stations. I get to go and record anything I watch. I can record things in schedule like VCR World and stuff for back then. It's great, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about watching YouTube on TV. It's huge. It's where we say, well, tablets get used because of the screen size. TVs are even bigger and better, and because of the smart TV world that we're in, the Samsungs, the Rokus, the TCLs, and everything else, that the TV channel that you're watching us on, if you're watching us on TV, exists. Those smart TVs where you can add channels and so forth. YouTube is a perennial channel addition that people have. Sometimes it's by default on the TV, like Samsung or Sony, that YouTube is a channel. All you have to do is hit it as a channel, log into your account, your Google account that you use for YouTube, and lo and behold, you can watch any YouTube you want. And for those that are familiar with YouTube, there is TV episodes, and there's the world of YouTube is on there, and you're watching it on TV. A nice, easier visual representation. I can tell you by watching YouTube on TV, there's videos that were made before it was available for YouTube, which are when placed on your TV, the resolution is like you're squinting at it, like it doesn't get any clearer. That is old. Watch old TV shows or how they record. Sometimes people record their TV holding their phone and use that as a video recording for YouTube. Anyways, but your YouTube ads that play on this, the skip ads and the must-watch ads and everything else are on TV. So here's a really, if you've listened to me to this point on the show so far, something that nobody else we've experienced does for hospitality the way we're doing it. We're making video ads with the platform I just described, like Stevie AI and so forth. It makes it fast and easy. It pulls in images and video, by the way, to create the video that is copyright available. So you get to use the imaging they create. Sometimes they bring in stuff that you have to pay extra to use. Sometimes it's worth it. Any which way, it creates the video for you. You've got it to the size you want. You load up on YouTube, and now you're using it to create an ad campaign. We do this. Depending upon what we're building the ad for and to what timeline we have available for it, let's go back to our original example, something 5 days out or 14 days out. I need it in front of them now. I have the designated audience by the geography, demography, whatever. I have it targeted. I have this TV ad placed in the sense that I put it on Google Ads. And in the devices, it's a matter of mitigating the budget. I shut down all the budgets available for anything other than TV. I've made a really nice 16:9 video ad for TV. And that means it's going to show really nice on the TV. And I put a QR code in the upper corner, lower corner, wherever the corner is that I want it to be in comparison to the text that I'm putting on the ad, because people watching TV can hold up their phone and they'll see the QR code and it'll go to wherever I want them to go. Because that's the problem with TV rendering of ads versus ads being rendered in mobile or on tablet or on computer. On all of those platforms, your call to action is a click. On TV, you don't have a click. Now, YouTube videos, you can put action items in videos. So I'm not saying that's an exclusive thing. You can, while watching YouTube TV, engage with the video you're watching with a next video or a go-to portion of it. But that's on YouTube for that video. That's not about you placing your ad on somebody's video that they're watching, which is the key element of the ad. Is you can't create the call to action function in the ad itself on the TV for them by the controller that they have. The QR code is a great, easy way for people, and they know how to use it. They know what it's for, that if they like what the ad is, they can pause it so the QR stays there. I recommend leaving the QR code in the ad the entire duration because it's only 20 to 30 seconds max. Keep it there, okay? That way, if they start watching the video ad and they're like, oh, that's interesting, and they see that the QR code is still sitting there, it gives them a chance to grab the phone, which is never not next to them. Click, go to the QR code. They go to where you want them to go to. Bring them to your landing page of whatever content is related to the ad you created it for. That uniqueness of making a dedicated TV device video ad targeted for the value of short-term conversion has been immensely successful for us. Because I'm literally getting in front of them in a medium that everyone persistently uses per day. I don't want to say that I'm saying these stats as being totally accurate, but the amount of hours spent per day watching TV, engaged with TV or screens like that is huge. Okay. If they're saying that Facebook takes 6 hours a day back in the early part of last year when they first said that, I don't know whether it's gone up or down, to be honest with you. I haven't followed that stat for a long time. But the amount of time is immense that's being spent on the screens, TV in particular. Obviously, you know that TV has a higher viewership in evening times, higher opportunity. So if you know that your audience demographics and geography can be put in front of them by putting your ads in front of people by looking at what they're wanting to watch, that's a great time for them as well, which is another day parting function to that. So this gives you an insight of how better to use YouTube videos in your advertising strategy. And the benefit, I can't emphasize enough, of the spontaneous engagement that it creates is profound. It's a tool that I now go to first when given short window needs. Like, oh my gosh, what happened? We need what? Where? Boom. Because one, I just need to know what we're trying to go for, our targeting information. Like, what are we looking for? What do we know about who we're looking for? Let's, is it a persona relationship? Is it demographic, geographic, behavioral, whatever? What are the defining factors of who would be most interested in what we have to say at the event itself? Then I go to the platform to make videos, whether it be Steve or whatever, and put in what I want to say towards what I'm wanting to do. Okay. If I haven't already had a page built on the website or where it needs to go to get more information, I make sure that gets created while I'm doing this. I create the video ad, very short, nothing, 20 to 30 seconds most. Call to action. Okay. QR code in the corner that goes to the content I put on the website or wherever I want them to go. It could be a deep link into Facebook. Just saying, if you have a fast post you're putting up, you deep link the post to the QR code so it goes right to it, because maybe you have your call to action to your booking engine. Hey, branding people, that's what you do. And then I go over and put the ad up, targeted for when I expected, day parted if necessary. Given the short window that we just discussed, I probably wouldn't day part it as much. I probably just full throttle it anytime anybody wants to watch it. Keep in mind that most people watching YouTube video on TV after 2:00 Eastern tend to not be so much of buyers. Just saying. Doesn't exclude them, just not often. But I push it out immediately, start getting traffic, start watching my viewer rate. And if obviously if you have and you should have a tracking on your QR code about engagement, and obviously have analytics wherever you sent it to, whether it be your Facebook post and or your your page on your website or whatever, having the parameters to know that actual traffic is generating. And of course, if you have the capability of tracking within your booking engine, the actual conversion values of it. I would also say, as you build this, take the opportunity, and this is a GA4 discussion we'll talk more about as we keep doing more and more shows about GA4, take and start creating custom audiences from the engagement of the ad. Okay, they went and saw the ad, they went to the website, which is what we asked them to do, they went to the booking engine, but lo and behold, they didn't buy. Let's make an audience of that and send it back into a retargeting program with an alternate message with the same offer. Let's get in front of them. Let's vary a small 3 to 5 frequency display advertisement campaign for them in addition to the remarketing, okay? So that we do a window of 72 to 120 hours out where we can go over and say, hey, we want to get in front of them for this duration of time, because we are talking about a short window. So we need a higher frequency, shorter window. If after the 4th or 5th time they don't buy it still, it's because they didn't find initially what they wanted. And regardless of our persistence, they still don't. Stop it. Don't piss them off. You don't want to irritate them that they never want to do business with you. That's the retargeting frequency program. And then for the display advertisements, it's affirmational. Now they see you around. They know that you're interested in getting their business. And if you offer a higher incentive than what they first saw in your display advertisement, you can probably push them over the hump because, hey, they went as far as your booking engine before they backed out. That kind of targeting capabilities in custom audience generation is the part that gets added to anything you do, not just the video ads that we're talking about today. But doing these kind of things is what creates successful and immediate campaign successes for this. All right. Soapbox aside, that is my discussion about how to do video ads for YouTube correctly for hospitality. I'm so thankful that you listened to me rant and rave about it. Put up with my ragged looking background. It'll slowly improve over time. We'll have very backgrounds. I'll get this all spruced back up. So forth. But anyways, I do appreciate it as always, those that follow us around the world. I am still in awe of people that will watch us live as they are now in time zones that I'm like, wow, talk about 2 a.m. So my comment about people not buying stuff at 2 a.m., please don't think that I'm talking about you. I appreciate you watching the show at 2 a.m. in Malaysia or South Korea. It's just crazy. For those that are more cognizant of their time and listen to me after the live show as a replay, we do a recast of this show at 11:30 a.m. Sydney, Australian time, Wednesdays. And we do at 11:30 a.m. London time Wednesdays as a replay of the show. We do that on the multiple channels. But if you want to, if you're not following HSMAI, Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International, whether APAC, which is where Sydney, Australia is based at, or EU, London, then you can watch them on their Facebook page because we do a recast of the show on their channels. And also because we simulcast on those platforms for Facebook for them as well. Anyway, you can go back and watch our older shows because it's just older posts. So you can go back and see me rant and rave about other stuff. For those who are watching us on the TV channel, thank you so very much for doing that. We do have a paid gateway for more content afterwards, but the live show is always on the free side of that. Okay. The paid gateway is like $4.99 a month, and it's a bunch of content about hospitality. It's a hospitality channel. It's about hospitality industry. We're not travel channel or anything like this. We're not about consumer stuff. We're about our industry, how to run hotels, how to learn more about this. That's what the content's about. That's there. Then we also have our Hospitality Marketing Club. This is not for people that are beginners in the sense that they're wanting to learn how to do hospitality marketing. These are people that are already doing hospitality marketing that need peers that they can collaborate with to advance their ability of what they're currently doing. So much so that if you were to go to hospitalitymarketing.club, there's just a box for an email. Put in your email. I send you a quiz. If you don't get 90% of the questions right, which is really 10 questions, just heads up, then I won't send you an invite. If you do get them right, I send you an invite. Right now, there's no monetization to the club. We're defining our community, and it's a huge, we get some brilliant people talking about everything that's relevant about GA4 and marketing variations and website developments and graphic interfaces and crazy stuff. It's a journeyman up kind of engagement, people that are already doing it, that are familiar. We're not teaching people how to do PC or what the definition is. There's plenty of basic beginner programs. A lot of them just really teach you buzzwords anyway. This is where you're doing the business, and you need a peer group that you can bounce off because sometimes you're the authority in your organization and you don't have anybody to turn to. And if you did have a third party you're dealing with, you get the bias of the vendor relationship in there. Like, well, they're not going to suggest things that they're not doing. They're not going to point out things they're not doing well. And if you have questions because of what you see that they are doing, they might be more defensive than they are helpful. You need a venue to go and talk to people that are in that mindset. They're there to say, hey, look, yeah, I've done multivariant carousel ads with 3 different demographic profile personas for Facebook under a single ad group. What do you want to know? Now you got somebody you can talk to. It does also lead to the fact you find resources that you didn't know existed, people that do stuff that isn't about having to go to a large agency and have to go through this massive contract and get everybody in the world to sign off on the fact you have to go in bed with these people for X number of years. These are people that go, sure, I can fix that for you. It'll take you this much time or this much money to do it, and boom, it's done. That's the real cool part of it. It's a really neat peer level engagement, but it's also exclusive in the sense that only those that qualify are participating. They get access to the TV channel stuff too as a part of it, just because it's a cool thing. But we do, so matter of fact, we have one this afternoon. We do every Friday. We do a live webinar. We have a Q&A session every week. Every bi-weekly, we have open mic, basically, so to speak. It's fun. It's just fun. Anyway, I hope you get to join us. Send me your email if you're interested. I'll send you the quiz. Pass the quiz. I'll bring you to the party. For anybody that wants to watch all of our reruns of this and our podcast, now, just so you know, there's a difference between this show, live show, which many people do listen in audio as well because I have a face for radio. We've also been doing a podcast. The podcast has actually been in existence for 17 years. It has been weekly for the past 9. We're in our 9th year. And that is the Hospitality Marketing Podcast. You can find it on 39 platforms. Even Amazon, Alexa, Google, and Siri, and so forth. Google Assistant and Siri, just ask them to play the Hospitality Marketing Podcast, and we made a tool for it, and it'll play it. That one gets more granular about actual techniques and tools. We talk about, like Steve AI, how to use the tool, what's the best way of doing it, functionality, so forth and so on. And we always have a topic related to the tools. We share the tools. We'll tell you where to get the tools if you want to buy them, what you can get away with for free until you have to pay for it. We talk about that stuff, plus some news stuff as to things that are impacting what you're doing in hospitality or things that are happening in hospitality that might affect you. So the podcast is a completely separate entity from the live show. It's also every week, and while we're recording it after this, we do a little recap of this show on it, actually. But both the live show and the podcast are forever in I Love Lucy reruns on a platform called hospitalitychannel.tv. I use a really cool platform to do it. It's very linear. I mean, one show plays after another. We have so much content, I could lull you to sleep with 2 months, almost 2 months of perpetual shows. You can search based on co-host. You can search based on topic. You can search based on time that the show ran. So you can go back and look for whatever we were talking about for whenever it happened. It's really fun in that sense. If you're looking for our TV channel, obviously on apps, you can go to the Apple Store and or Google Play and look for the Hospitality Channel. It's an app that's for our TV channel. That way you can always watch the live show on that if you want to as well. Also, if you want to look at it on a web-based platform, you go to talktravel.tv. That's our web portal for the platform. But I would highly recommend you just go to your TV, go to the home, go to channels, and look for a Hospitality Channel. It'll come up, load it. It doesn't cost to do that. That way, if you want to catch the show on the TV, as many of you have, thousands, which is just so cool. Thank you. Then you do it that way. And then if you do want to see what other content is behind the curtain, so to speak, you can pay for the subscription. It's only a monthly basis if you want to, discounted if you want to spend more ahead of time. And you get to access to more content. Cool stuff that we get to share about things that you can and can't do. It's about restaurants, about hotels, about golfing spas, whatever. It's about our industry, which makes it cool. So enough self-pitching. I sincerely appreciate your time listening to us today. I appreciate the feedback from everyone. Again, if you want to, and people did, they also told me that they just wanted to comment on it. They didn't want it to be shared on the show. I give you that option. But if you go to hdm.news/talkback, there it's an auto engagement that says, hey, this is our question. What are your thoughts? Is there anything you want to tell us that isn't what we're not asking about? You just record your answers. Just say blah, 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 blah. In that we ask, hey, can we refer to it? Can we refer to it with your name? Do you want us to actually play it and give you credit for it? And you choose which one you want. Some people just want to give me a little feedback audio. It's easier rather than typing and sending emails. They're just like, yeah, boom, boom. Hey, Loren, this, and this. You should comb your hair. Whatever. Then I listen. But oftentimes there's some great insights or great requests like, hey, I wish you would talk about such and such. Or, hey, this tool, can you mention that or whatever? So hdm.news/talkback. That's the portal for it. You'll see it. It gives you the instructions. It gives you the permission selection, and it gives you the ability to just hit record and talk that way. So I hope you use that as well. Until next week, show number 392, which is still stunning to me that we're on show 392. We're well into our 9th year, coming up on our 10th. Wow. Anyways, we are getting more guest hosts coming on board for us, so you don't have to listen to just my ranting and ravings. Opinions and perspectives that are alternate. That would be fun as well. So until next week, next Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Europe time, my name is Loren Gray. I thank you for the privilege of your time and look forward to talking to you next week.